Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Maple Grove Scripture Reading Podcast. So last time we were in the first half of Job 28, which was this poem about mining. And we watched the poem build a portrait of some pretty extraordinary human capability. The miner who carries light into absolute darkness, who's going where no falcon has ever flown and no lion has ever prowled, who overturns mountains and searches the sources of rivers, who brings hidden things to light. The poem spent 11 verses making the miner's enterprise as impressive as possible because what comes next is depending on that. So today we hit the question that the whole first section was building toward, and it starts in verse 12. We'll go through verse 19 of Job 28. But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding dwell? No mortal comprehends its worth. It cannot be found in the land of the living. The deep says, it's not in me. The sea says, it's not with me. It cannot be bought with the finest gold, nor can its price be weighed out in silver. It can't be bought with the gold of Ophir, with precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Neither gold nor crystal can compare with it, nor can it be had for jewels of gold. Coral and jasper are not worthy of mention. The price of wisdom is beyond rubies. The topaz of Cush cannot compare with it. It cannot be bought with pure gold. But where can wisdom be found? Where does understanding dwell? The single word there, but, carries the weight of everything the poem's been doing. After 11 verses of celebrating what human beings can accomplish when they commit fully to finding something, the pivot is just that one syllable word, that nice conjunction. But where can wisdom be found? The miner brings hidden things to light. But this thing called wisdom, the miner has not found. Nobody has found it by searching the earth. Nobody has dug it up in any tunnel or gotten it out of any rock. The most capable enterprise that human ingenuity has produced comes up empty when the question becomes, but where is wisdom? The gap between what the poem celebrated and what the question reveals is huge. We can get light into absolute darkness. We can descend past where birds and beasts go. We can redirect underground rivers, find lapis lazuli in the rock. We can do all of that. But wisdom is still not there. He continues, no mortal comprehends its worth. It cannot be found in the land of the living. So it's not a failure of trying. It's not a failure of effort. It's not digging deeper. The framing here is that wisdom just simply isn't located in the places human beings can search. It's not a hidden treasure waiting for the right person with the right equipment. It belongs to a different category altogether. Proverbs 2 even talks about looking for wisdom as for hidden treasure. And that image comes up here again. The effort is right. The search is worth making, but the poem is making a sharper point. No matter how earnestly you search the places a miner can reach, that particular treasure isn't going to be in any of them. The deep says it's not in me. The sea says it's not with me. Job gives voice to the oceans and the deep. He asks them, do you have it? And they answer, the deep has existed longer than human memory reaches. The sea covers most of the world's surface. These are the largest, oldest, most remote parts of creation, the places that still lay mostly beyond human access, even now, let alone in Job's time. If wisdom were located anywhere in the physical world, it would make sense to ask those places first. And they say, nope, they're not here. That's a rhetorical device, but it's not just decoration. The poem has been systematically closing off locations. The land of the living doesn't have it. The deep doesn't have it. The sea doesn't have it. Each time a new location is checked, it's found empty. And so the point sharpens. Wisdom's address isn't going to be anywhere on the map. Back in 2014, there was a Malaysian Airlines plane that disappeared in the Indian Ocean. Ships and submersibles covered enormous stretches of the ocean, but it's one of the most remote and least explored places on the earth. Every search grid came back empty. And it's not that the searchers were careless or lazy. Like, they were committed. They were being thorough. The thing they were looking for was very real and physical, and theoretically it should be findable. It just never turned up, no matter how much ocean they covered. That image, an exhaustive, serious search through every accessible location, each one getting eliminated, captures something of what the poem is describing. Wisdom isn't found by being willing to search harder or go further. It's simply not in any of the places that we can reach. So the poem can't find wisdom by location, so it tries another approach. Price. Maybe wisdom has a cost. Maybe if you could assemble enough wealth, wisdom could be purchased. And the poem works through everything humanity has valued most. Starts with gold, not ordinary gold, but the finest gold that's weighed out in silver. Then the gold of Ophir, which throughout the ancient world meant the highest quality gold available. We mentioned it earlier in Job in chapter 22, when Eliphaz told Job to lay his gold in the dust and let the Almighty be his gold. Then you have onyx and lapis lazuli, that deep blue stone that showed up in the earth of the mining section. Crystal, which in the ancient world was extraordinarily difficult to produce and considered nearly as precious as any other gemstone. You have coral from the sea, a material that could only be recovered from the water, not the earth, extending the catalog to even another domain. You have jasper, rubies, the topaz of Cush, which was a stone from the far south. It's very rare and valuable precisely because of the distance required to get it. Pure gold again at the end, as if to close the list by returning to the most universally recognized treasure and saying, nope, still not enough. Each new addition to the catalog isn't going to raise wisdom's price. It demonstrated that no price can be named. The poem keeps adding more because each thing on the list is still less than wisdom. It's a price escalation that has no ceiling and no end. Whatever number you name, wisdom's going to exceed it. Whatever treasure you put on the scale, wisdom is going to outweigh it. And the poem ends this catalog back where it started with pure gold. So you got gold at the top, gold at the bottom, and everything humanity has ever valued in between. And still, wisdom exceeds it all. And that repetition isn't redundant. It's insistent. It's like, no, not this either. Still, no. There's an observation that goes all the way back to earlier in the chapter. The miner will go to extraordinary lengths to find gold. He descends into absolute darkness. He dangles alone in a shaft cut through mountains. He redirects underground rivers. He does all of this for the things that are on this list, for gold and silver and the precious stones. And the poem's point is that if you took everything that he would sacrifice to find and combined all of it, you still couldn't buy wisdom with it. This is not a point of wisdom's impracticality or its distance from ordinary life. It's a point about the category of it. Wisdom's not expensive. It's not for sale. We're talking about two kinds of things here. You got the things that you can extract from the earth or purchase with wealth, but then you've got wisdom, and they're totally different. And it's not just a degree of things. No amount of the first kind is ever going to purchase the second because they don't operate in the same economy. You can't save up enough of one to buy the other. It's not that the price is too high. It's that the price doesn't really apply. So this section ends without answering either question. Wisdom's location is unknown. Wisdom's price is inapplicable. The poem has spent these 8 verses systematically dismantling both approaches, geography and commerce. And the question from verse 12 is still standing when verse 19 closes. And verse 20 asks it again. Where then does wisdom come from? Where does understanding dwell? The poem acknowledges that nothing in verses 12 through 19 has answered it. They've clarified what wisdom isn't and where it's not found. And they've established that it outranks everything the physical world can offer. But the question of where it is still waits. And there's something honest about that structure. The poem's not rushing to the answer. It makes you feel the inadequacy of the usual approaches first, searching harder, paying more. And it closes the doors carefully before opening another one. because the answer, when it comes, requires you to have given up on the other frameworks entirely. That's what we're going to pick up next time as we get into the last section of Job 28. And we'll see what the poem finally does say about where wisdom is. Hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon. God bless.